Hey y'all, today of course it's Matt Rogers on the Honorable Mention podcast. We have a familiar friend on the show, Spivey from the Philadelphia Tribune, just coming from the post-game interviews, talking to AJ Brown and all that. OJ, we were just talking about that off air, so let's just start there. I think you asked the second question in the post-game of AJ Brown. What were you getting at, and what was the answer that he was able to get back to you?
Well, Matt, I was asking the way he was being defended today, and what both he, Jalen, Brian Johnson were able to see how he was being defended, because you saw, he had 9 catches and he almost broke 200 yards, and we saw the long touchdowns and everything. And I was just asking if he had a beat on the defenders, on the corners and everything, how, if he can beat them deep and everything. But he just pretty much gave credit, to the defense and to the corners that were defending him. So, he was being a little humble about it and everything. I just kind of wanted him to say, okay, a lot of times receivers will say, or they'll go to either the quarterback or the coordinator says, this guy can't cover me. Beat him deep. But they did see some things. They did see a chance to take some shots downfield. And obviously, both he and Jalen took advantage of that.
Absolutely. Just to recap for the folks, Jalen went 25 out of 37 for 319 yards, 2 touchdowns. The aforementioned AJ Brown went for 9 for $175, 2 touchdowns. You got Devontae Smith was 7 for 78, really cooking. I mean, not perfect, but what would you give Jalen from a letter grade perspective for today's performance?
Well, I'll set that up as far as I posted the other day. I posted yesterday on Saturday as we're recording this, of course. And I said, I think Jalen's going to have his best game of the season. On Sunday. It's just a hunch. I didn't have any inside information. I didn't talk to him this week or anything like that. I just had a hunch that Jalen was going to have to throw the ball. I wasn't even looking at him running. I knew he was going to have to throw the ball. And, it looked kind of shaky. He missed a couple receivers here and there and everything like that. But you just read his numbers out. This is what people want. I mean, for fans, for his critics, or for the finger waggers to say, he's not a top 5 quarterback anymore. I was hearing that shit over the last couple of weeks and everything. Yes. This is what you want as a quarterback. Like you said, 25 37, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. We had a 112, 114 quarterback rating, everything like that. He took shots. He trusted his receivers. I mean, for what he missed, okay, you want him to have 400 yards. What the hell?
And then some of the ones he hit on, like the one that AJ Brown made an amazing play, but to hit him up the rail in cover 2 on the wheel route, he placed that ball exactly. I mean, he couldn't hand it to AJ Brown any better. Than
what more do you want? And then you look back at his last couple weeks, and AJ Brown was due to have an incredible game, which he did today. Because you look last week, he dropped a couple touchdowns.
Yes, he did, and
admittedly so. He dropped a couple touchdowns, so Jalen's numbers would be even greater if you had some catches here and there, and I thought it might be a little shaky early on in the game because I saw that pass that Goddard dropped, and I was like, oh man, is this going to be one of those type of days? But I give Jalen an A.
It looked like that could have been that one could have been one of those that turned into a pick 6 if the ball bounces the wrong way on that Goddard one. That was,
the way he was being defended, the way he's been defended throughout the season so far. And Washington's their front 7 is, you got Chase Young and Sweat.
Payne.
Payne, Sweat, all those guys chased him around, and he stood tall in that pocket. If they said, what do you want them to say? What the Ron Jaworskis and all them other guys say, "Oh, you got to stay in the pocket." Got to say, what did he do today? And he was able to
That's
get
right.
outside the pocket and make, one of his signature juke moves coming out of the pocket too. So
Absolutely.
we saw a little bit of everything with Jalen, and people who boo-hoo about all his rushing touchdowns. And he had a rushing touchdown. He had to throw the ball, and what did he do?
That's right.
He did it. So
That's right.
what the F
He was
more do you,
uncharacteristically
what the F more
pumped.
do you want?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. He was uncharacteristically like actually really pumped after that last touchdown.
Yes.
Do you think that this one actually, meant more to him? I mean, did he carry some of that into the locker room and when you got to talk and interact with those guys afterwards?
It was just pretty much just AJ Brown just reiterating. I didn't get to talk to Devontae Smith, but he was just reiterating. I mean, and nobody knows Jalen more than AJ Brown. And he said it was just that fight. He just had it in him. He said usually he's subdued, usually he's even killed, but it just seemed like he really wanted this game. And you saw a little bit of that on the sidelines after the second touchdown, after the fourth quarter touchdown. And AJ Brown, and I still think we couldn't even in the press box, we couldn't even see exactly what the unsportsmanlike conduct was. Did he say something to the defender, whatever? But everybody was telling me it was bogus, even though I had expressed and I posted AJ Brown taking responsibility for that 15-yard penalty. Everybody saying, I appreciate him doing that, but it was still bogus.
It was all he did was leave the ball. He just left the ball there.
Yeah, and the refs didn't do the Eagles any favors today. And it was quite a few questionable calls. I mean, it was to the point where we actually thought when what was that? Devontae Smith's catch.
Oh
my! The one he leaped up.
Yes.
We thought they were going to call that back because they took long to look at that because that's usually a bad sign, right?
Yes.
Also, too,
and then the Blankenship arm play.
Yeah, the Blankenship arm play, right? Exactly. And also, the Blankenship play. Yep. And I think there was another where AJ Brown kind of caught it and went out of bounds. So it was a number of things, and even the quarterback sneak, the tush push. Yes. Where they called, was it Landon Dickerson, I believe?
Where they called him offsides, offensive lineman offsides.
And I think that's suspect because there's been some complaints this week that the Eagles are offsides. They tend to be offsides on the tush push.
That's so bogus.
It is officially a tush push, by the way. Because I tweeted the shirt they had down in the pro shop. So
I thought it was the brotherly shove. I thought they came up with the brotherly shove.
Nah, it's somebody. It's someone else tried to push. Someone in the media tried to push that through. I mean, I guess someone in the media brought up the tush push, but it seems like the players have run with it, and now it's on a T-shirt. It's official, and it has the Players Association logo on there. So
it's official. And other teams try it. They tried it on us today twice.
Well,
Logan Thomas.
As Nick Sirianni said last week in his press conference, everybody doesn't have a personnel.
Exactly.
They don't have a quarterback. They don't have.
And it's not just about people laying down on the ground. Did you see the guys like planking, basically lining up at the defensive line?
Oh yeah. They were trying everything. They still couldn't do it. I mean, they were short on the first time they tried it. They were short, but they're going to be successful 9 times out of 10.
That's right.
So you take that.
What are your thoughts on this idea that potentially the Eagles scored too quickly, hitting AJ Brown on that double move with 1 minute and 40-something seconds left? What do you think of that?
Nah, I don't buy that as much. I just put that onus on the defense.
Same.
I mean, listen, and I think by that time, Washington only had 1 timeout, if not any. So you go up 7 points with 1:45 left, I believe. The onus is on your defense to make a stop.
That's right.
You had to make a stop there. I mean, as we were texting back and forth during the game, at times,
Yep.
the penalty was big because
Yes, it
that
was.
gave them, I guess, that gave them about 50, it gave them 15 yards basically. So 15, 20 yards from if you count the return also. So
And then Sirianni accepting that penalty on the 3rd and 1. I don't understand that one. I
yeah, and
that one
who was
upset
that?
me.
So and I didn't get a chance to get in a press conference for Nick Sirianni to ask him that
Okay.
question. And actually,
Okay.
Natalie from Brother from Another, she had reached out
Okay.
to me on Twitter and asked. She had the same question that you had, but
Yeah.
it doesn't look like he was pressed for that question. I got to look back at the transcripts and everything, but it doesn't look like he was pressed. And that was a big thing. And also too, for me, when Washington tied it to go to overtime, it wasn't the touchdown for me. It was the play before, or no, it was two plays before. I had a problem with the off coverage,
Yep.
and Slayer talked about this too, which one I know
Yep.
we'll get into also after the game. But they were just way off because okay, fine, I think it was McLaurin who got that first down. And then Slay pushed, was able to kind of guide him out of bounds. They were so far off. It's fine if you let them catch it, but you got to keep them in bounds. You have to be up on them to keep them in bounds. Just hold them, or just wait for somebody to come, or wait for the whistle to blow, so you can keep that clock running. So I
Yep.
think that's what killed them.
How are we going to handle this Bradbury in the slot situation? Because there are some times where he's holding up and he's rangy and it's good, especially when the guy's going outside. But when these quick twitch guys are getting into the slot on him, it's not looking good. How do you think that they're going to get around that?
I don't know how they're going to get around it, because essentially it seems like you're weakening two positions in one. But I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I mean, I know they had him in training camp be in the slot position a lot, and they let us know that you were going to see that. But now with the injury with Maddox, with him being out for the year, they may not have a choice.
Yeah,
They may not have a choice. And even though Josh Jobe got beat on the touchdown to send it to overtime, I think he's
he's been
played well
playing
for
well.
I think he's played
Absolutely.
well for the most part. But again, as we discussed, I don't like Bradbury in the slot either. I think he's best as an edge corner. But there's something they're going to have to work out in the coming weeks. I think they'll be able to get away with it again. Some of the things they did today, I think they're going to able to get away with it when they go out to Los Angeles, when they play the Jets. But when they start playing
The
better
Bills, the
teams,
Chiefs, the
yeah.
Niners,
They have the Dolphins in
Dolphins.
3 weeks,
Yep.
so that's going to be something. But Buffalo took care of them, but I know they play defense differently. But it's something to keep your eye on, I believe. And in talking to Darius Slay, he said that we got a lot. They have a lot to clean up. I know everybody's been saying that, and he's also said it's been a couple blown coverages too.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
he said that's the thing the most that they have to clean up. So I think if they take care of the blown coverages, as he mentioned, they should be better, improve, be okay.
Absolutely. Cam Jurgens was seen walking out with a walking boot.
Yeah.
I guess Dave Zangaro from NBC Sports said that. If he is forced to miss time, what do you think that they do there? Is that Tyler Steen or who is that?
Well, I don't know if it'll be seen. Like, who replaced him today? I'm trying to remember. His name escapes me. Because Steen has been inactive, so I don't know if they're going to plug him in. They do like Steen, but he's been inactive for all year. Maybe they'll get him ready. You know how Stoutland is. Stoutland University. You see how far Mailata has come. From a
That's
rugby
right.
player to borderline Pro Bowler. So I I think they'll be okay. I don't think it hurt them this game because Washington has as good a front as
Yep,
anybody. Because I thought it was, it's one of those things that you mark down or you make a note of. Okay, how is the interior rush, pass rush going to be against the New Eagles front? So with Jurgens not in there, but I think they'll be okay for a couple weeks, and hopefully Jurgens doesn't really have to miss time. But if he does miss time, I think they'll be okay. I mean, nobody wants to face Aaron Donald, depending on where he lines up in the middle.
that's right.
He looked like he still hasn't missed a beat,
Yep.
but I think they'll be okay.
So moving over to the 4 o'clock games today, really quick before we go, the Brandon Staley consistently finding ways to put his team behind the 8 ball with bad decision making, letting the Raiders almost come back today. If let's say the Chargers end the season 8-9, 9-8, 10-7, but they miss the playoffs. Do you think that he's on any kind of hot seat, or he's got a pardon the euphemism, but look, a longer leash, so to speak?
I'm not even sure because the way that Chargers organization goes about business, you're not even sure they could even bring him back. And I even said last week, even despite their wins, I mean, if they're going to be mediocre like this, they could have just kept Anthony Lynn, and I think Justin Herbert would have progressed just as much.
Yep.
But yeah, he just tends to try to be the smartest guy in the room, and maybe play not to lose. It's mind boggling, and it just makes me bewildered because you see so many you see so many qualified coaches out there, and
Yep.
even black coaches. I mean, you're looking at coaches like Brandon Staley. You're looking like looking at
Yep.
Eberflus in Chicago, and here you have Eric Bieniemy, who called a great game today. He called a great game
Absolutely.
for Sam Howell,
Absolutely.
and even Slade did that. He said he admitted that Howell gave them a lot of different looks that they weren't really expecting. A lot of stuff that did not appear on film. So they did have some issues with, I don't know if it was a bit of an underestimation how he was able to stand in the pocket and, make his throws and everything. Eagles didn't have the best pass rush early on either, but then going back to Staley and all, I mean, you see someone like an Eric Bieniemy, and he does not have a freaking head coaching job. It's
Ridiculous.
crazy how he called the game, and his players even tried to call about preseason, saying, "Oh yeah, we're not used to working like this." But you
Yep.
see, even in defeat, it seems to be paying dividends. At least it almost did for them, Sunday.
They took a team that's one of 2 undefeated teams left in football. They took them at home
Right,
to overtime
right.
with a quarterback who had just stunk it up a week before.
Yeah, I think he was sacked 8 times last week, or
4 picks.
right.
So great job by them. I mean, I told people before the season that the Commanders are going to put a better product out there on the field. Now they are sitting at 2-2, but I would say I would expect a 9-8 season from them. They're right on schedule.
They're quite a surprise, and Rivera made some mistakes on Sunday, but still, I think they're well coached for the most part, and I think again having Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator / assistant head coach, I believe that's going to pay dividends for them too. And they're going to be on just about every game, short of Buffalo last week.
I think they need to lean into. I guess they can't do that so much against the Philadelphia Eagles, but they do need to lean into. They have 2 good backs, young backs with Gibson and Brian Robinson.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was very, very concerned about Brian Robinson today.
They kind of let the Eagles off the hook. I guess to some extent, maybe not, because that Eagles defensive front just scares you out of running. Even if you got Derrick Henry, so maybe that's what's going on there. But I thought that they would definitely try to stick to the run a little more.
Yeah, yeah. But they saw a lot of things that they could try to exploit in the Eagles defense. And that's what you do. You see things you can exploit, you go for it. Just like on the other side. Jalen taking the shots downfield with not only AJ Brown, but Devontae as well. So that's football.
Absolutely. Well, OJ, thank you so much for coming on. Tell us a little bit before you go. Tell us a little bit about your latest piece. You went back and talked to DeAndre Swift's coaches and folks at St. Joe's Prep. Is that correct?
Yes, I certainly did. I talked to the current head coach at St. Joe's Prep, who was actually his offensive coordinator when DeAndre Swift was there. So he just reiterated just his work ethic, the great young person that he is, and not being surprised. And even going back to his days where he played for the VIII Eagles. For those who don't know, that's one of the mega churches here in Philadelphia.
VIII Tabernacle.
Yep, VIII Tabernacle Baptist Church. And their athletic program, primary football, VIII Eagles and everything, they're world renowned. I mean, they've played, in the Pop Warner Championships. They go to Disney just about every year. At least one of their weight classes goes to Disney every year. And DeAndre Swift came up through that program. And not only that, as you'll see in my piece in the Tribune, they produced at least four NFL players and more than about 3 dozen D1 scholarship players. So it's a great program. And DeAndre Swift is one of the poster boys of coming through that program. And of course, St. Joe's along with Alameda Zacchaeus. Great block, by the way.
Absolutely. Who did the escort today?
To
yes.
AJ Brown. AJ talked about that as well. So yeah.
He made a great play. He read it like a punt returner. It was excellent. That's why I always say if I need one punt return from my life on the Eagles team, I'm taking AJ Brown. But it was great. I mean, it from AJ's perspective, and then you got Devontae and Alameda not giving up on it at any point there. It takes that, that hunger and that, looking to find the next guy. Who can I speed up and try to find a block?
Yeah, and I said to one of the media guys as we were waiting for the locker room to open, I said, you usually don't see that type of blocking downfield in today's NFL. And I said, and for the young folks, I said they look like both Smith and Zacchaeus look like Jerry Rice and John Taylor downfield blocking for Steve Young or Roger Craig or somebody like that. So for the young folks, go back and see the films, go back on YouTube, see how those guys block. That's kind of what you saw today with Smith and Zacchaeus.
Well, here's to more. Probably should finish by the time week 7 comes. Should be at least 5-1, if not 6-0. Can't take any game for granted, but good times in Philly with the 4-0 Eagles now and Red October. I'll bring you back soon, OJ. We could talk about Red October because it could be interesting.
Yep, Phillies Marlins, division rival. It may not be as easy as people think. So I'm sure we'll talk about it down the line.
Absolutely. See you soon, OJ. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.